Welcome back to State of the FBS. I'm Micah, and it's time for another weekly picks episode here on the channel, and it's the best one of the year, Rivalry Weekend. I am so excited. There's so many good games on deck, and we've seen the last couple years some crazy things can happen, especially the Ohio State-Michigan series. I feel like it's been must-watch the last 4 years. A lot of these other games have some great storylines. The Egg Bowl, what's going to happen with Lane Kiffin. Just a lot to talk about here in the weekly preview, and I decided since it's the last full week of the year and there's a lot of good games, I want to give y'all more content on this one. So we got 21 games to go through. Any game that's remotely important, even some smaller teams, we got everyone on here today. So really excited to go through and get all these games talked about. But if you guys do enjoy the video, do make sure to like the video and subscribe. It really helps me out. Really appreciate it. But let's start with the game. Ohio State at Michigan. Does Michigan keep the streak going? They have 4 in a row right now. It's a very good Michigan defense going up against an Ohio State offense who's looked nearly unstoppable so far this season. For Ohio State, though, the times they've played good, like really good opponents this season, they have the 14-7 win over Texas and a 24-6 win over Washington. So if you're trying to nitpick a flaw with Ohio State, you could maybe say, well, the offense hasn't totally lit up the scoreboard against these better teams. I could maybe buy into that. And then you go on the road at Michigan, tough place to play, rivalry game. It's a very talented Michigan defense. Ohio State absolutely needs to be able to run the ball with Bo Jackson. I think if you can't do that, Michigan isn't really going to let you just air it out on them all day long. You need to be multidimensional. Julian Sayin has been great all year, needs to keep playing at that level. Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis are all exceptional players on the outside for Ohio State. So just get a little bit of the run game going and let your pass offense go to work as a result. For Michigan, it's even more important for the Wolverines. Absolutely have to be able to run the ball because Bryce Underwood is not to the level yet where he can go out and win this type of game by himself. And the bad news for Michigan is they have a very banged up running back room right now. Justice Haynes, not expected to play in this game after suffering an injury earlier in the season, missed their last couple games. Jordan Marshall was a game-time decision last week and did not play, so we'll see if he's available. He's going to be banged up even if he does play. Then your third-string guy is Bryson Kuzdal. So I think that if you're relying on Kuzdal at that point, it's just tough. Tough scenes for Michigan, and since you absolutely need to run the ball, I think the Wolverines are going to be in trouble, especially when you look at this Ohio State defense. The defensive line is awesome. The linebacking core has 2 of the best defensive players in college football, in Sonny Styles wearing the block O, former safety, still moves like it too. He is awesome. And then Arvell Reese, who in my opinion is the best defensive player in college football as far as NFL prospect readiness goes. I know in a video earlier this week I said Jacob Rodriguez has been the most impressive defensive player, but Arvell Reese, I think as far as NFL prospect and readiness, is the best defensive player in college football from that lens. He is so good. And the second might be Caleb Downs on the back end, who is just a freak safety. He is awesome as well. So I think Ohio State is really set up to defend the Michigan run game well. And I just don't know that Michigan's passing attack is good enough to compete in this one. I think Ohio State does end the streak this time up in Ann Arbor. Give me the Buckeyes over Michigan. And next up, we got the Lone Star Showdown. Second game of this series really being back for the first time over the last decade, and Texas got the better of A&M in College Station. I think you see the opposite happen this year. I think Texas A&M gets it done on the road. Texas has been infinitely better at home this season than on the road. They had the struggles versus Kentucky. Mississippi State got beat by Florida and Ohio State and blown out by Georgia. But even at home, I just think A&M's too good. Mike Elko is an incredible coach. This A&M defense has been absolutely rolling. Cassius Howell's a monster off the edge. I love Torian York. Will Lee, one of the feistier corners in college football, can really get after it. And even though Texas has been improving on offense recently, they absolutely have to run the ball to do anything in this game. If you're one-dimensional, A&M is going to sit back and just kill you. And I don't think Texas is going to be able to do that against this A&M front. Wisner and Baxter have not been what I thought they could be coming into the start of this year. The offensive line has really struggled. And then for A&M, their receiving room is so good. Casey Concepcion just does whatever he wants after the catch, it feels like. And then the deep speed of Terry Bussey for A&M is just awesome. Marcel Reed, too, has been mistake-prone, but both of these quarterbacks have. Both Reed and Manning, it feels like every week or two they'll make a couple of these just brain-dead decisions But Marcel Reed's been better at bouncing back from those within games. You look at the LSU game, especially the South Carolina game, bouncing back from errors. So I think A&M is the better team overall. They're more consistent. I think they get it done over Texas in Austin. Staying in the SEC here, the Battle of Tennessee, Vanderbilt at Tennessee in Neyland. Playoff implications. Who would have thought at the start of the year? Vandy fighting for its playoff life still. I think they still have a chance if they win this game and then some chaos happens. And they're going up against a Tennessee defense that has been terrible. You can tell they're really missing Jermon McCoy, who might have been right up there for best defensive player in college football had he played this year, but sadly has not come back from that ACL injury yet. And I think without him, this Tennessee defense just looks lost. I know you really shut down Florida last week. I don't care. Florida's playing like a dead team right now. And Vandy's offense just lit up Kentucky. I know this is different. It's on the road. It's at Tennessee, but that didn't matter to Georgia. Georgia ran all over Tennessee. Oklahoma, their offense looked better than it had in a while against Tennessee and Neyland. Teams can put up numbers on this Tennessee defense, and I think Diego Pavia knows that he's on the edge of being in New York for the Heisman. I think he wants to show out. I expect a big day from Pavia, Stour, Cedric Alexander. I don't think Tennessee really has a guy that can cover Junior Sherrill or Eli Stowers for Vandy. I think they're really going to have issues trying to hold down defensively. So I really think Vandy's just going to be able to put up too many points on the board. For Tennessee, you have to get your run game going like you did against Florida. You need that type of performance to then let Joey Aguilar sit back, pick the Vandy defense apart. Vandy's been very vulnerable on the back end of that secondary. They have struggled in games. I think that's where you really need to go after if you're Tennessee and try to keep it really closer in that manner. I think Vanderbilt does a little bit too much in this one for Tennessee to be able to handle. Give me the Commodores on the road in Neyland. I cannot believe I'm saying that, but here we are. Then it's the one that a lot of people have their eye on this weekend. Alabama at Auburn, the Iron Bowl. Always a fun game when it's played in Jordan-Hare. When it's played in Bryant-Denny, but in Jordan-Hare, Auburn can get up to some Jordan-Hare voodoo, and this Auburn offense has come to life since Hugh Freeze left the building. Crazy how that happens. 100 points in the last two games for the Auburn Tigers, if you can believe it. I know one of those was against Mercer, but Auburn struggled to put up points against South Alabama earlier this season at home. So I think the Tiger faithful will absolutely take what they're getting from the offense right now. And then they went into Nashville and dropped a ton of points on Vandy as well. So I think they're going to be rolling coming into this game. This is the best Auburn has looked all year heading into this one. Ashton Daniels will start. I know a lot of people are going to be wanting Deuce Knight. Ashton Daniels is a very, very good quarterback for this system. Looked amazing against Vanderbilt. So you can't take that guy off the field. The reason you didn't play him against Mercer was to preserve his eligibility for next year with the red shirt. So that's why Auburn made that decision. But Daniels, I think, will be ready to go. Jeremiah Cobb has been awesome so far this season. A really, really underrated running back. You know what you have in the receivers with Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton. Perry Thompson has been coming on lately. Malcolm Simmons had a good game versus Mercer. But what Auburn needs to do, too, is not throw at the tight end, because I've never seen a tight end that drops the ball as much as Preston Howard does. But regardless, you have to get that offense going, because Alabama has recently kind of struggled. Ty Simpson, the accuracy has tapered off in recent weeks, has made a lot of mistakes, had a rough game versus Oklahoma, threw 2 picks against Eastern Illinois. It's starting to get concerning for Ty Simpson, which feels weird because he was right in that Heisman conversation for a lot of this year, but he's struggling. And this Alabama team cannot run the ball. They flat out cannot do it. They have to get creative in the way they essentially fake running the ball with these short swing passes. So if Simpson's off, the Alabama offense is not in a good space at all. And with this Auburn defense that has been so locked down this year, they've only allowed more than 24 points once this season. It was to Vanderbilt. So I think that Jordan-Hare voodoo, if Auburn can just tackle in space, which they've been good at, and limit that kind of simulated run game for Alabama, I think Auburn's in with a chance. They're playing for bowl eligibility and a chance to ruin Alabama's season. I think they do it. Give me Auburn in the Iron Bowl. I cannot believe I'm picking that either after the midseason form Auburn was on. But it's crazy when you get rid of a guy who was holding the team back, how much you can improve. Is what it is. And now over to good old-fashioned hate, another great rivalry name. Georgia at Georgia Tech in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Money is what it is. I hate it, but it is what it is. And I just think that these two teams are trending in opposite directions. Georgia feels like they're playing better every single week. You probably aren't going to get CJ Allen in this game. If I had to guess, it's still early. SEC availability reports haven't come out, but I would assume they want to not rush him back with the postseason still on the line for them. For Georgia Tech, just trending down. The defense has been bad all year. It's really starting to cost them games. Got just taken out back and smoked by Pitt last week. That score looks closer than that game was. They need Haynes King to be absolutely perfect if they want even a chance in this. They need to be high scoring. I just think the Georgia defense is too good to allow that to happen. And then you look at the Gunnar Stockton we've been getting in recent weeks. Zach Branch has been so good for Georgia too. This running game is looking like more traditional Georgia. I just don't think the Georgia Tech defense can stop them. And I was super excited about this game about a month ago. I was thinking it'd be super fun to get these two teams on the field together. We get a close game. I'm not even sure we get that at this point. I know it's a rivalry weekend, but the vibes of these two teams are so different right now. And with how bad the Yellow Jackets defense has been, I just don't know that they can hang, as sad as it is to say. So give me Georgia fairly convincingly in Atlanta in this one. Now out to the Pac-12, not the Pac-12, the Big Ten, as I should say. Force a habit there, geez. Oregon at Washington should be a Pac-12 game, but I am really excited for this. I love this rivalry. I think it's one of the more underrated rivalries in college football. And this is going to come down to how healthy are Washington Stars and can Oregon run the football? For Washington, DeMond Williams Jr., I think, is still such an underrated player. I love him at quarterback for the Huskies. He is so fun to watch. Jonah Coleman's been working back from a knee injury that he suffered against Wisconsin. If you didn't watch the Washington-Wisconsin game, essentially every important Washington player went down with an injury. Jonah Coleman hurt his knee. Denzel Boston hurt his ankle. Takario Davis hurt his knee in that game, their outstanding corner. So it was a very rough game against the Badgers for Washington. But if Coleman is, I would say, at least 80%, you get a good Denzel Boston and Takario Davis is out there ready to go. This should be a close game. I'm just not sure Washington can really slow down Oregon's run game. We haven't seen really any team other than Indiana do that to the Ducks. They continue to just run it at will, it feels like. Noah Whittington, Jordan Davison are both great players. De'Aaron Hill, too, when he gets on the field, is a fun little spark plug. So I just think a little bit too much talent for Oregon. Kenyon Sadiq might be my favorite player in college football. Just such a versatile weapon at tight end. Can do anything you need him to and is basically uncoverable from that tight end spot. We'll see what Washington tries to do with him, but I think Dan Lanning is really trying to get back for losing 2 in a row to Washington to Kalen DeBoer. He got Jed Fish last year. I think he does it again this year and beats Washington up in Seattle. Oregon historically has had trouble winning in Seattle. I think they can do it this year. I think this run game is too good for Washington to be able to handle. I know Washington has a top 20 rushing defense. They just haven't really played teams like Oregon. I know they played Ohio State. The Ohio State rushing attack, as crazy as it sounds, is not some unstoppable force. They use the run to set up the pass and they kill you through the air, does Ohio State. I think Oregon is so focused on their ground and pound and then work to Sadiq and some of your other receivers off that. It's a different type of offense to try to stop. And I think Oregon is built to overcome this Washington rushing defense. Give me the Ducks up in Seattle. Now to the ACC, Miami's at Pitt, and it's going to be cold. These are the type of games we see Miami lose all the time. I think they do it again. Give me Pitt in this one. You saw what Pat Narduzzi teams were looking like in their must-win games, as everyone jokes about. They smoked Georgia Tech, and I just can't trust Miami and Mario Cristobal late in the season. No matter how much hype these guys have, it always feels like it dies. They don't deliver on it. Carson Beck looked great against Virginia Tech. It's Virginia Tech. James Franklin isn't coaching there yet. They don't have a good team. I'm not going to take some game against Virginia Tech last week in 60-degree weather and be like, oh yeah, he's going to go up and light it up in Pitt. I just don't believe that he's going to be able to do that in these pivotal games. We've seen him make mistake after mistake in this spot. On paper, the talent says Miami should win this 9 out of 10 times. The eye test tells me Miami's going to find a way to blow it. That's just how these games tend to work a lot of the time, and Pitt has really been able to step up in conference play. Mason Heinschel, outside of the Notre Dame game, has been so good, so fun to watch. Jakirian Turner just smoked the Georgia Tech run defense last week. I believe went for 190 or something crazy like that on them. And if you're running like that on Miami, the defensive line can't really pin their ears back. Ruben Bain, guys like that can't really just sell out on the quarterback. So I think if they can get the run game going, stay multidimensional, Miami can't tee off. Pitt, I think, in the cold at home, I think they take this one. The good news for Miami is Mark Fletcher so far is not on the injury report, so him and Charmar Brown should both be good to go. They have to be able to run the ball, though. This can't be all on Carson Beck, or I think it's really going to be an issue. But in the cold, up in Pitt, late in the season, give me the Panthers in this one. Now back to the SEC, the Egg Bowl on Friday. What's going on with Lane Kiffin? Does he have Ole Miss ready to go? I don't know. It's a weird situation in Oxford right now. I think if I felt very confident Lane was staying at Ole Miss, I would feel good about Ole Miss winning this game, but I'm not, and I don't. Kawan Lacey's awesome. He's been playing better and better, it feels like, as the season goes on, but we've seen Ole Miss in some tricky spots. They almost lost to Washington State and Florida at home, two teams you should not lose to if you're a playoff contender, which, to be fair, they didn't, but tricky games, both of those. And I think on the road, rivalry spot, Mississippi State, this is all they have to play for. They have bowl eligibility on the line. If Fluff Bothwell and Devon Booth can both just get this run game going and keep the ball out of Blake Shapen's hands, for gosh sakes, please, because he has been just worse and worse, it feels like, as the season goes on. Blake Shapen loves giving the ball to the defense over the last few games, it feels like. But with everything going on around this Ole Miss program, I can't pick them to win a game like this. I think they trip at the finish line. I think they still make the playoffs. I think they'll keep them in, like maybe the 10 seed-ish. But give me Mississippi State to beat Ole Miss on Friday in the Egg Bowl. Another upset pick here in the SEC. And staying in the SEC, the storied rivalry of Oklahoma and LSU. Rivalry Weekend gets so weird sometimes. LSU should be playing Arkansas in this game. Oklahoma, I guess, should be playing Missouri if you're going to go by that. Actually, Oklahoma should be playing Oklahoma State, but I don't know. I'm not in control of college football. I wish I was. But at this point for this game, LSU is DOA. They almost lost to Western Kentucky at home. I'd be surprised if they can get to double-digit points against this Oklahoma defense. John Mateer could not show up, and I think Oklahoma could still win this game. This defense is so suffocating. This LSU offense looks so dead overall. This game is in Norman. Just too much, I think, for Oklahoma. So pretty short game pick on that one, but I think that one's fairly self-explanatory. Oklahoma gets it done over LSU. Staying in the SEC, Missouri at Arkansas. This game, I think, is going to be a shootout. Ahmad Hardy might run for 1 billion yards on this Arkansas defense. They are terrible. I think Arkansas could also put up a bit of points on this Missouri defense, who's looked a little bit shaky against some decent offenses when they've played him recently. Bo Perbula still working back from that injury, going to play in this one, I would assume, since he played last week, but he did not look great in that game through 2 picks against Oklahoma. Missouri on the road again. Arkansas has been playing cardiac football all year long. They're the best 2-win team in America by far, which I don't know what that's worth. Go ask that Nebraska team that went 3-9 a few years ago that had a good point differentials. I think Arkansas also has a positive point differential going into this one. But for Missouri, if you can just keep Taylon Green at least in check, you should be fine. Arkansas is usually going to give you the football a couple times a game. They love turnovers, do the Hogs. Big issues out in Fayetteville. They got their coach sniped today too. North Texas's coach going to Oklahoma State instead of Arkansas, where he was rumored to really be a front runner there. Just not good vibes around the Hogs in Fayetteville, and I think Missouri is going to come in and win this game. I do think it could be close just because that's how Arkansas likes to play football, but Ahmad Hardy, I think, is going to have a field day on this Arkansas defense. So give me Missouri in this one. And now out to a couple good Big 12 games. First up, Cincinnati at TCU, another storied rivalry. Jeez, it's so weird. But TCU's offense has also been weird, coincidentally, recently. Josh Hoover, you guys know how much I love him. I wish he'd quit launching picks, but he keeps doing it anyway. Stop, Josh, please. But when he doesn't throw picks, he's awesome. Although I guess if you said that about every quarterback, they'd all be good, wouldn't they? It's an interesting TCU group. The running back has kind of been by committee over so far this season, different guys taking the touches depending on what the game is. Joseph Manjack has really come on as more of the number one option later in the season, as Eric McAllister has been banged up for most of the year. But McAllister, when healthy, is still a great receiver, had 70 yards and a touchdown last week. This defense, led by Bud Clark, can really lock down at times. They've also been exposed a few times too. This whole team has been so up and down. They feel better than what their record is, but you are what your record says you are to an extent, I guess. And TCU does have 3 losses on the season at this point in the year. Cincinnati, also a team that it feels like it's kind of tripped down the stretch. Lost to Utah, just got smoked by them. Just lost to BYU this past week. Brendan Sorsby's kind of developed a turnover problem through the back half of the year after starting so incredibly well. He keeps putting up yards, but now starting to turn the ball over a little bit. I think you need to find Cyrus Allen in this one. He is just a touchdown machine on the outside. I think with Bud Clark playing that more back safety box role, if you can line up Allen across from where he is, get him working on the opposite side of the field, that's really what you want to do. If you're Cincinnati, maybe you leave Caleb Goody on the other side, try to draw more defenders towards that direction, and then spread the field out, let Brendan Sorsby do what he does when he's right. I just think TCU at home, I've loved TCU all year. I'm going to let them let me down one last time. Give me the Horned Frogs over Cincinnati and the fighting Josh Hoovers, as I feel like I do every time there's a TCU pick on this channel. I don't know why I love them, but I do. Staying in I almost said the Pac-12 again. Geez, staying in the Big 12, Arizona at Arizona State. Another classic Pac-12 matchup that is now in the Big 12. This Arizona State team is just weird at this point in the year. They've beaten Texas Tech. They are the only team to do so this season. Have a couple unfortunate losses. They've had some big injuries. Jordan Tyson has missed large chunks of the year. Sam Levitt is now done for the year and apparently being shopped by his agent to go to another team. I hate college football, what it's becoming down the stretch, but I love college football. I just wish money would quit ruining college football. Stop doing that. But with Sam Levitt out and doing whatever he's doing, it's Jeff Sims, journeyman quarterback, college journeyman quarterback, as weird as it is to say. But he and Raleek Brown have been an awesome duo in the rushing game. They are both just electric factories. I think the Arizona State offense has still been definitely good enough for them to win games like this. Their defense, too, is amazing. I feel like they're incredibly underrated. They really stifled the Texas Tech attack when those two teams played. Keith Abney on the outside is one of the best corners in college football, probably right on the fringes of being a first-round pick once we get to spring for the NFL draft. And they're going up against an Arizona team who really likes to live on the passing attack. Noah Fafita kind of got forgotten about. I feel like once Teteroa McMillan went pro, they kind of fell off from that year. They were ranked just outside the top 10. Jed Fish left, but Fafita is still a very solid college quarterback. Not really any pro prospects. He's too small. He makes too many mistakes. But Arizona's losses this year are not bad. They lost to BYU in double overtime, at Iowa State, and at Houston. So they're 8-3. I feel like it's a very quiet 8-3 as well. But I would like to see Chris Hudson and Javin Watley really go out and make something happen against the secondary. Keith Abney can only be on one of them at a time. And I think whoever is not matched up across from Abney needs to go to work. That's Arizona's path to victory in this one. That and then letting Fafita just do what he does. Excuse me, and make plays. I think that when they're doing that, they can be a dangerous team. I just think Arizona State's a little bit too good at home as well. Give me Arizona State, the Sun Devils, in the rivalry matchup this year. Now into the group of 5 in the American, Navy and Memphis. Really fun game last week of the year. Obviously, Navy plays Army at a separate week, but this Memphis game, I think, is going to be very entertaining. These are two offenses that are top 5 in the country in rushing touchdowns. Navy, number 1 in rushing yards, number 3 in rushing touchdowns, I believe. And then Memphis is number 5 in the country in rushing touchdowns. They have a ton of them. Brendan Lewis got to take care of the football. He's thrown at least an interception in every game that Memphis has lost this year. One of them, he kind of split time after getting knocked around versus UAB. Different quarterback came in, finished that game, but still has turned it over. In the other 2 losses Memphis has this season, they need to lock down. Going to sound the most obvious thing I've said the entire video. To beat Navy, you have to stop the run. Duh, it's a military academy. But Blake Horvath is an awesome player. Eli Heidenreich and Alex Teska are both incredibly fun players to watch too for this Navy rushing attack. They're just fun. I really enjoy watching Navy play football. They're an elite offense. The defense is solid enough, Memphis does have a top 40 rushing defense, but it's number 40, and Navy is just so good at what they do. I think Navy is going to win this one on the road in Memphis. Memphis does have a couple losses already. They're out of the American race, I think, at this point with Tulane and North Texas, probably meeting in that conference championship game. But I am taking Navy to win this one at the death of the regular season. I like the Midshipmen. I think they're a very fun team. And now that we've hit one group of 5 game, let's descend even further down the college football totem pole with Florida and Florida State. I can't believe these two teams are this bad. It feels like every year now. You guys can see my wall in the background, so you know which of these teams I'm pulling for in this one. But this is like, you've seen the meme that's hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby. This is coughing baby versus coughing baby in this one. Both of these teams are awful. Florida State has retained Mike Norvell for next year, I assume just because they couldn't get the money to fire him. Florida's fired Billy Napier, and they alternate between being good and DOA every week. Take Georgia to the wire, smoked by Kentucky. Take Ole Miss to the wire, smoked at home by Tennessee, lose the Volunteers in Gainesville for the first time since 2003. So this is in the swamp. It's sold out. 18th home sellout in a row for the Gators, so that's cool. I have no idea who wins this game, if I'm being honest. I think the best player on either side of the field is probably Jaden Ball for the Gators, and because of that, give me Florida. I think that Florida State can't stop Jaden Ball. I don't know that Florida can stop Tommy Castellanos from running all over the place, but Florida's actually been fairly solid at containing mobile quarterbacks. Trinidad Chambliss didn't do a ton versus the Gators. Byron Brown had under 75 rushing yards, which is good by his standards. They contained Marcel Reed fairly well in his rushing game. So I do think this is a decent enough Florida defense at containing mobile quarterbacks. Caleb Banks is now playing again for the Gators. I think that does make a big difference. So with that and then Jaden Ball, I think it's just a little bit too much for Florida State, but both these teams are awful. Nothing would surprise me in this one, as this game will kick off at 4 a.m. on MTV. Moving on, Palmetto Bowl, Clemson at South Carolina, another game of missed expectations. Clemson came into the year top 4 in national title odds. South Carolina top 15 in college football playoff odds. U of SC is 4-7, and Clemson is 6-5 entering this game. It's been just an awful season for both of these teams. On paper, this Clemson defensive line is so talented that they should smoke this U of SC O-line and really make Lenore Sellers struggle, but on paper, they've been that all year, and they have not played to that level. So you would like to see guys like Peter Woods and TJ Parker play better than they have. I don't know if they'll deliver in Columbia for this one, but the U of SC offensive line is just so bad. I think that Clemson will be able to get stuff done against them on the defensive end. Avion Terrell's great on the back end, but he's not the fastest guy, so maybe you say, hey, Nick Harbor, just go be fast and see what happens on that end of the ball. Sellers is obviously great at evading sacks, can make stuff happen, but also this Clemson receiving core, I think, is under the radar very good. TJ Moore, I really like. Antonio Williams is a good player. Bryant Wesco Jr. is really good as well. And this is a fun U of SC secondary, too. Brandon Cease on the outside is a dark horse first-round pick for the spring in the NFL draft, too. He's a very good player. Jalen Kilgore is also fun. You know what Dylan Stewart can do off the edge. Although I am kind of disappointed we don't get Dylan Stewart versus Blake Miller. They line up on opposite sides. But regardless, some interesting matchups in this one. I just think Clemson's a little bit too good overall, a little too talented. But we've seen that not really do anything for the Tigers all year. So who knows? I am going to take Clemson, though, in this one over South Carolina. And out of the Big Ten now, Iowa versus Nebraska in the battle of who has the better corn. And no Dylan Raiola. I think that's an issue. They have not been able to really move the ball effectively since Raiola went down. TJ Lateef is just not the same level of player. Emmett Johnson is awesome, but I don't think that you can rely on just, hey, I want my running back to go rush for 200 and we win against a defense like Iowa that's going to absolutely shut that down. And then Iowa's offense, I think, has enough of a pulse to score and beat this Nebraska team, even at Nebraska. The better part of Nebraska's defense so far this year has been the passing defense. They excel in that. They struggle more so versus the run. Iowa wants to run the ball on you. Kamari Moulton, I think, just send him out there behind Jennings Dunker and let things happen for the Hawkeyes. Iowa just a little bit too good, I think, overall, and I do think they take care of Nebraska. Iowa corn is better than Nebraska corn this year. That's what we've learned. Back to the ACC. Wake Forest at Duke. a Wake Forest team that is surprisingly good. 8-3 Wake Forest. Their defense has been very, very good in ACC play. They're number 20 in the country in scoring defense, and this is a Duke team that we know has been extremely up and down all season. Darian Mensah, hot and cold. Cooper Barcade has been his best option, I would say, on offense. But every time this Duke team plays a team that has a good defense, they lay down and die. You saw it especially against Illinois in that game, and Illinois is not an elite defense by any means. I think if Wake can hold Duke under 24, they win this game. And I think Wake is going to be able to do it even on the road. Give me Wake Forest and the fighting Robbie Ashfords in this game. And I do think Wake Forest has a fun defensive line duo too in Langston Hardy and Nuer Gatkuoth, I think is how you say that. Apologies pronunciation. I like to get pronunciations right, but Gatkuoth is one I'm not entirely sure on. So if you're a Wake Forest fan watching this for some reason, please let me know how that is. But I think those two guys will absolutely be able to get pressure on Mensah. Give me Wake Forest over Duke to end the year. And now we got a few group of 5 games that I think are really fun towards the bottom of this picks video. First up, Western Kentucky at Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State has the nation's leading rusher right now in Cam Cook, who has been awesome so far this season. He's doing it on about 1 billion carries, but he's still doing it. Jacksonville State doesn't really believe in throwing the ball, which why would you if you have Cam Cook? Which is totally fair. And they were not picked to do well at all at the start of the year. They've really delivered. They've been a fun team to watch. Western Kentucky has an odd quarterback situation. Abilene Christian transfer Maverick McIver did have the spot, but then he got his non-throwing shoulder injured earlier this year. And then from that point, it's been Rodney Tisdale Jr. more so taking the reins for Western Kentucky. Bit of an odd dynamic. And I think McIver was actually benched. He wasn't just like taken out because he was injured. He tried to come back in and played bad. And Tisdale is now the starting quarterback for Western Kentucky. Overall, though, if you're the Hilltoppers, this needs to be a Matthew Henry game. He is their best receiver, leads them by far. I think has double the amount of receiving yards of anyone else on this team. And Jacksonville State is number 110 in the country in passing defense. So let Henry go to work. I think that's your route to victory if you're Western Kentucky. Unfortunately for the Hilltoppers, their rushing defense, I think, is just nowhere near good enough to stop Cam Cook. I think Cam Cook rolls. Jacksonville State protects home turf, and the Gamecocks get 1-2 in the season. Out of the Sun Belt, James Madison, whose only loss of the year is Louisville, is traveling to Conway to the Teal Field to take on Coastal Carolina. Alonzo Barnett's been awesome so far this season. Coastal, I do not think, has the defense to stop them. They have the number 108 pass defense in the country. Alonzo Barnett's too good. This James Madison team is rolling right now. I think they keep doing it. They want a CFP berth. I honestly think they deserve one right now. I think they deserve the group of 5 spot, but they dominate Coastal, I think, absolutely for sure. The Coastal quarterback situation, too, is a mess. Tad Hudson, Samari Collier, and MJ Morris have all seen fairly significant time. Hudson has thrown for 794 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 picks. Collier for 489, 7 touchdowns, 2 picks. And then Morris for 304, 4 and 2. So you might wonder, why is Tad Hudson on the graphic right now? Well, it's because Collier injured his leg or knee, something with his leg, against Georgia Southern and missed the South Carolina game. And they're expecting him to not be back until bowl season for Coastal, so it's assumed that Tad Hudson will get the start. I think if he does, they're even more cooked. James Madison rolls in Conway, I would predict, this week. Second to last game out in the Mountain West, San Diego State is taking on New Mexico. These are two very solid teams. SDSU is 9-2, New Mexico is 8-3, and all 3 of New Mexico's losses have been on the road. They get San Diego State at home. Jack Lane, though, bit of a turnover machine at quarterback. 12 touchdowns to 9 picks for Lane. And then this 3 running back committee room that New Mexico has of Damon Bankston, DJ McKinney, and Scottree Humphrey. All 3 of those guys can run the ball fairly effectively for New Mexico. So for San Diego State, you have to stop the run. I think they can do that. And then try to get after the New Mexico quarterback. Try to get after Lane and make him make mistakes, because San Diego State has the ball hawks to take advantage of that. Chris Johnson has 4 picks. Dwayne McDougal has 3 picks this year. Keyshawn James Newby and Brett Carew have been a very good pass rush duo for New Mexico, though. So I think if those 2 guys get going, you never know what can happen. But San Diego State doesn't really like to throw the ball all that much. Lucky Sutton is really their bell cow guy, has over 1,000 rushing yards this season, 9 touchdowns. And if they are going to throw the ball, it's probably going to be to Jordan Napier, who's really their only big receiving threat. I just think that Sutton is good enough to really be the difference in this one for San Diego State. And then if you start getting pressure on Jack Lane, I think your ball hawks, the secondary, take advantage of it. Give me San Diego State on the road. And then finally, Maction, Toledo at Central Michigan. Toledo has a good running back duo of Chip Trainum and Kenji Christian in the backfield. Both of those guys are very fun to watch. And I do think the main player to keep your eye on for the Rockets is Junior Vandeross III. He's a great receiver, has over 800 yards, almost 900 actually at this point, and 11 touchdowns so far in the season. I just don't think Central Michigan has a guy that can hang with him. I think that does make the difference. I think Tucker Gleason's going to play good enough at quarterback for the Rockets. For Central Michigan, Joe Labus needs to be solid in this one. He has had a couple turnover issues, but those have been tamped down recently. He's been playing a lot better. This rushing attack is fairly solid for the Chippewas, too. They're not world-beating by any means, but especially by MAC standards, they're incredibly solid. This defense is led by Jordan Kwiatkowski, who is a stud. He leads them in total tackles with over 90, and he also leads them in interceptions with 3. Kind of a do-it-all linebacker for them, but like I said, I don't think there's enough on the secondary on the outside to really slow down Vandeross, so I think that's where the Chippewas really struggle, but I do think they could get pressure. Michael Heldman has been a great force on that defensive line, has 9 sacks this season. If you can start to stress out Gleason, maybe make them one-dimensional, you maybe do something there, but I think even if you do that, Chip Trainum is a little bit too good for the Chippewas defense to handle anyway. So give me Toledo at Central Michigan in this one, and that is the Rivalry Weekend Picks episode. 21 games, super excited to get through all of those. So if your team was in this video, which unless you're a Louisville or Kentucky fan, that game just missed the cut on this one. I don't really know how else to explain it. It just missed the cut for me. 2 teams that have been entirely underwhelming to me in recent weeks, so they didn't make the video. But if you're a fan of pretty much any other team in the FBS and want to let me know what you think your team's going to do this weekend, feel free to comment down below. And let me know, are you excited for Rivalry Week? Because I definitely am. And I've seen some people saying, like, this has kind of lost its luster with conference realignment. You don't get Bedlam anymore. Not that that was really a Rivalry Week game anyway, because the way the Big 12 does their schedules, but I still am super excited for this. There are a lot of games with playoff implications on the line, and I think it's going to be incredibly fun. I'm super excited to see if Ohio State can break the Michigan streak. I love having A&M Texas back. I'm excited for the disaster and affront to football that the FSU-Florida game is going to be, so it's just going to be fun. Rivalry Weekend is always a great time. But until next time, I've been Micah. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said at the start of the video, if you did enjoy, do make sure to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And I'll be back at the end of the weekend for your weekly recap. But this has been State of the FBS.